Hello and hi, YouTube family. Celestial here, and you are tuning into Celestial Evolution. Welcome, welcome. Happy 2022. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you are a person who's watched a couple of my episodes, I thank you so much. I know I don't have many views, it's just beginning. I'm just starting, but it is a new year, and I'm going to keep pushing this out because I love making content. I do. There's so many things running through my brain all the time, and I have to spill it out. So this is Celestial Evolution. Now, I want to tell you that I am moving towards a new I'm moving towards a new way of how I want to approach my channel. Originally, it started off with the idea that of accountability. So I felt for myself the four pillars that I needed to thrive and not just survive were spirituality, education, fitness, physicality, and financial well-being. There's this really great channel called Think Before You Sleep, and he's more of this MGTOW kind of anti-feminist movement channel, which I know women are like, anti-feminist, you're anti-feminist? No, I'm not an anti-feminist, but I do listen to many different people who have great ideas about their perspectives on certain topics, and I do urge you to follow him because he's really, really good, and he's articulate, extremely articulate in the way that he breaks down his ideas. And one thing that he mentioned in one of his videos was that you should do things that are most authentic to you, things that you, of course, this is commonsensical as well, but I think that we like to overstretch ourselves, right? But I digress. So do things that you know you're passionate about, that you have a little expertise in. That way you're not muddling up information of those that actually know what they're talking about. And so I want to condense this channel into talking about spirituality and fitness because those are the two things that I am absolutely in love with, things that I constantly think about. And just to give you an idea in regards to what spirituality I'm talking about, spirituality for me is not religion. Religion is more of a confined, restrictive thing. It is based on whatever God you believe in, and that you are a part of this kind of macrocosm that is looked over by whatever omnipotent power that you are praying to. In regards to spirituality, I grew up religious and I was thrown off, well, not thrown off of it, but kind of taken aback by it because of the hypocrisy that I saw surrounding me in regards to the followers of the religion. And as a kid, I was just like, this is not for me. So I grew up with the understanding that yes, there is something that is bigger than us because the way that the world is set up, there has to be a system that is in charge of the perfection that is nature, that is our world, that is our solar system. It's too structured. And I humble myself to know that even though I am just this tiny person in this giant scheme of thing, that I have accountability and responsibility for my actions because I know that it trickles in to this weave somehow. And so that's my spirituality, what I focus on in regards to my spirituality segment. I do a lot of introspection, right? So I'll give you a certain topic, right? Like I have 10 episodes, which is what I was going to do for each segment, and I did 10 episodes on spirituality. And I just take a topic and I think about it, how it affected me, and breaking it down and analyzing in a way that I know is going to be beneficial to the whole. Because sometimes we have to take a step back, take a pill of humility, and to say, am I correct in this? Is it ego that's driving me? What is it exactly that is keeping me confined from growing and expanding, or at least understanding the other side of the coin? And so that's what you'll be expecting from me in regards to spirituality in 2022 is this continuation of accountability, of responsibility, of introspection, of analyzing and trying to be a better human so that our world can flourish. in this life and in the next. Fitness is something that I have taken a liking to, a loving, a passion to, and it's been almost 10 years of consistent and continual revelations, both consciously and subconsciously. And it's really just for myself an observation of self, which is something that I've always done already, what I just told you about spirituality. But now I'm taking it one step further with how my body is a part of this, and how when you feel better about yourself, not just in regards to physical appearance, which is great. We live in a very superficial society, so it helps. But if you have your system in order, when you like a dirty room, right, you can't function. But if you are in a clean room, you have everything in order, it just feels a lot better. And that's how I'm approaching the way that I care for my body. So, with that being said, that is what you'll be getting from this channel. And if that sounds good to you, I hope that you tune back into a lot of the insights that I get every single day. I have like 400 voice memos that I need to turn into episodes. So there's always something to do. And, with this episode, I actually had filmed it last week and I was about to edit it, and I realized that it was blurry. Oh my gosh, guys, the frustration. But sometimes you just have to push past the frustrations and know you're going to make mistakes in life. You just got to keep moving forward. So that is an antecedent into what this episode is about. And so the tagline says, why your diet isn't working. Why your diet isn't working, okay? No, why isn't your diet working? There are a multitude of answers for that. And I started to think about my own journey, which I said has been a decade-long process of conscious thinking. My journey, my fitness journey, started when I was young, even though I was unconscious about it and why it was actually necessary. I knew commonsensically that if you work out, you're going to lose weight, but there is another puzzle piece to weight loss or weight management, and that is nutrition. So, one thing I want to say first is figure out your relationship with food and what you have become accustomed to, routine to, and what has stuck from your childhood that may not be the healthiest of things, but more so brings a level of comfort, which I think we should indulge in sometimes, but we do it because it's habit and because it's comforting. And that is a negative relationship that we can have with food if we're not conscious about what we're actually putting into our bodies. So, for myself, I am a Blasian, so I grew up with the Asian side of my family. If you don't know what Blasian is, as Black and Asian, I'm Lao and Thai specifically, and African American. And I grew up with the Asian side of my family who was kind of poor. So we did a lot of filler foods, and that included stereotypically rice and noodles. And so I never felt really full unless I had four like cups of rice, which I'm counting my calories again, and I forget how freaking calorie dense rice is. Like a fourth of a cup is almost already 200 calories, and that's disgusting because I eat like, those styrofoam trays of Chinese food. I can eat a whole thing of rice and still be hungry. And I've probably eaten 1,500 worth of calories, not to include the other items that I'm eating. So, consciousness. So, understanding your relationship with food in that sense, and knowing that, when my grandma was cooking, she made it with love, but she was using all of these additive, preserve filled ingredients. Like if you go to the Asian store, you'll see oyster sauce. And in a tablespoon of oyster sauce, how much sodium is actually in it? And you're using globs, okay? Like if, whatever you're cooking. And then if like things like soups, how much sodium you're putting into it. Like I was making pho for our Christmas dinner, and I was asking for my grandma's recipe, and the stuff she put in there, oh my gosh. I made two different batches. So one was more organic, more healthily based, it still had a lot of sodium in it, but it was good salt. Or better salt, I guess. It was like sea salt. And I used monk fruit sugar instead of the sugar cane that goes into it, and a lot of the regular seasonings with the star anise and everything like that. I made that. And my grandma, she used like bouillon base because we made an oxtail pho, like a bouillon base, which has a lot of MSG and oyster sauces, more beef flavored additives. It's delicious. And those who don't understand what MSG is a flavor enhancer. And I'm not exactly sure of the science, but I know that it will interact, or excuse me, affect the way that you taste foods later on. It's like your taste buds get oversensitized to certain flavors, so it enhances it so you don't have to add as much. It's like literally you can use like a teaspoon of MSG and you will taste the difference. And it has a lot of adverse effects too. It makes you tired. I believe that it's also a hormone disruptor, but I will double check that fact here. I'll put that just to clarify. But Asians, we don't understand that the stuff that we put in there, I know it's nostalgic and I know you feel it doesn't taste the same. To that effect, I will say yes. But when you know better, you got to do better. And knowing that these things are going to affect your hormones later down the line, you got to stop with it. Find alternative sources to flavor your food. Salt is just fine. You don't need too much. And there are so many vegetables that you can pull from. The meat itself has so much flavor. And that's why when you make pho and everything like that, you cook it for like 12 hours so those flavors can really blend in. And then things like salt and sugar are only um, complementary to the flavor of the broth. But I'm digressing. So, in understanding that, when I was a kid, that's what we used to eat. And how, if we didn't become enlightened about it, how it can really seriously start taking its toll on your body later on in life. We attribute sometimes, old age by the fact that we start becoming decrepit, things start breaking apart, falling apart. Yes, completely understood. Old age will do that. But I think there are certain anomalies of people that show us that even if you are 70 years old, you can still look like this, still be healthy, even if you have done damage to your body over time. It's just how much you want it and how much you are actually focusing on the benefit of nutrition and exercise and consciousness into your life. And I will link a couple of my inspirations down below. I'm pretty sure you've heard about a couple of them. So, understanding your history, understanding your relationship with food and why you like certain things will definitely help you become conscious of it. Therefore, you can better monitor it. If you can't see what needs to be fixed, you can't fix it. You can't find the solutions on how to fix it. I don't know if that's a good analogy, but that's the way my mind thinks about it. It's kind of like the out of sight, out of mind type of thing. And you live in an ignorant bliss, which is good to a certain degree until reality comes up and bites you in the tush. And that's never a good bite. It's not a love bite, it's more of a ah, ah. But yeah, so understand your relationship with food. Now, the next thing that I feel like I started to really assess once I started to understand my relationship with food, because it was brought to my attention. My first boyfriend was really into fitness and he really helped navigate me not only in my fitness but in the way that I ate. He taught me about organic foods and introducing new foods into my diet, like fresh vegetables. Who would have thought that would have done good things to my body? Because not only does food affect your body weight if you're not managing it correctly, it also infects the way that your skin looks, the way that your farts smell, the way that, you process that nasty food and how it comes out, in the form of BO, in the form of um, imbalances in the body, ladies, yeast infections. You can create cysts, and these are all part of the inflammation that can go on in your body if you're not eating properly. So once you start to understand that what comes in must eventually come out, and if it doesn't come out, it becomes blockaded. Things like coronary heart disease, y'all, when you're eating too much fried chicken and french fries and potato chips, where is that going? How does it affect in relation to your body? You know, like when you're drinking coffee or eating a whole bunch of food, you're never brushing your teeth, you realize there's plaque that comes onto your teeth, right? Same thing with your arteries. And so having a little background about how nutrition affects your body is vital. Some people won't really understand that. Like, people tell you when you're in school, eat your fruits and veggies, and they'll tell you about coronary heart disease. But when you're kids, you think you're invincible. So unless it's applicable to you at all times, and understanding how your body functions, and if you're not an athlete and stuff, who really have to start monitoring, who monitor their foods and their physicality, even then sometimes they do it wrong. So really taking in that responsibility of saying, okay, so these were my habits, I know how my pathology is supposed to work, how do I find the balance? So that brings us into balance. That is so important, okay? And to find balance, you are going to have a lot of instances of imbalance. Finding the right diet for yourself is a time-consuming but very necessary project that I do urge for you to embark on. What I mean by that is that, we become habitual in the ways that we eat, right? Some things are cultural, and so we can't break away from culture. Mom cooks me this, I have to eat it. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to waste food. But you have to start saying no. My mom used to always, when I was telling her I was going on this diet, she would bring me food, which I'm so thankful for, but she would bring me food that was just riddled with all of the additives that I was talking about earlier, or it was fried, or all of these different things. And I was starting to become conscious about how those can affect your body, but she would bring it to me. And you don't want to waste food, so you eat it, but eventually I just had to throw it away because it's not serving me anymore. That's what you have to do, okay? Finding that balance. What diet works for me is understanding what doesn't work for me, okay? We all know to be commonsensical about things. We all know that pastries, fried foods, those are not good for you, okay? Sugar, how it affects the body. I've watched so many vlogs on that. One thing that keeps me accountable, I have to tell you guys, British Network, okay? They have this skinny versus fat episode, fat families. I watch all of these while I'm eating so that I can keep myself accountable. It's about strategies, okay? And understanding, it teaches you a lot educationally about calorie intake, our portion control, and all of these different facets. This video can be very long, but I'm trying to condense it in a way that is going to be palpable to the layman because it really is commonsensical. Yes, there is science behind it. You can definitely explore that more, but just understand that broccoli versus cookie is very different in regards to what nutrients you're actually going to be able to process within your body. Understanding what's natural and what's not. Is if you were a caveman, you weren't privy to having a cookie, but you can probably find some vegetables out in your plants out in the world. So you scavenge a little bit of that. Protein came if you knew how to kill it. All of these different things. Just really understanding how naturally we foraged rather than from the processed way of how we do things now, because we have the privilege of being able to have the knowledge on how to um, create longevity in food because of times of scarcity, like the Depression. And it's this whole system, the innovations of life or the innovations of our food system is so amazing and so fun to learn about because it shows you why things were done, but we've kept the habit of why we're eating frozen foods and canned foods, and we think that it's just food, but there's there's levels to this, okay? So finding balance again is really creating that introspection within yourself to say, okay, this worked for me, this didn't work for me, this food affected me in a certain way, this food benefited me in a certain way. Which brings me to my next thing. Out of sight, out of mind, right? So journal things. If you can't remember what worked for you and what doesn't, write it down. Ever since I was a kid, I would journal everything about my life because your brain has a funny way of remembering things. Like you remember it from how it made you feel, though that may not have been the actual reality of what was happening in the moment, right? And then when someone else recounts it, they see it completely differently because that's their perspective. But when you have things written out and you have it plain as day, and we're both like, oh yeah, and that's how I felt, and blah blah blah, you can make sure, or you can really pinpoint the reality, the truth in it as objectively as you possibly can, right? Because we're all kind of in your own perspective. But that's the same thing with food. And I have counted my calories before. I've just started to do it again so that I can keep myself accountable of how many calories I'm actually eating in a day. And portion control is real. I don't have a semblance of understanding. I didn't have a semblance of understanding what portion control was. I'm a binger and I can eat a lot. And so I can put down 5,000 calories easy. Is that going to be sustainable for the longevity of my life? No, it's not. So you have to have times of famine, feast or famine. Sometimes you have to deprive yourself. I know we live in a land of abundance, but you have to really understand that your life is not supposed to be that way. We live very privileged lives, and I think we become entitled to this sense of, I need this right now because I can access it 24 hours a day. You know, there's food available to you at any time of the day. There's grocery stores. If you don't want to cook, you can find any type of outlet, whether it's people who like freshly that create meals for you 5 days out of the week. You can go get ready-made foods at grocery stores. You can go to the fast food. There's restaurants everywhere. We're freaking privileged. And with that privilege comes a sense of entitlement and a little bit of delusion as well as to how our food actually gets to our mouths. There's a whole system to it, and I'm a nerd, so I watch all those systems and I'm just like, this is not sustainable, guys. This is not sustainable. And it's gluttonous. Just because we can doesn't mean that you should. Okay? So find that balance and understand that there's repercussions to this exorbitant way that we're living. And honestly, it's not quality food that we're eating, which is why it shows up in the way that it does in our bodies. Having a purpose is so important to the longevity and the sustainability and the continuation of anything, having an end point. So time frames and purpose, I believe, are very necessary. They should be in conjunction with each other, right? I have this purpose. I want to lose, let's start with small goals, right? I want to lose 10 pounds. What do I need to do to lose 10 pounds? Well, how many calories do you eat? How many calories do I need in order to, or excuse me, how many calories do I need to get rid of so that I can reach my goal by this time? And if I can speed it up by doing fitness, let's do that too. Having a why for my macrocosm is that I am a role model to my younger generation to say that it just takes consciousness to propel yourself to being less than average, right? Or to be more than average. And it literally just takes a little extra. I just finished my body positivity episode, which I will link here. And what I talked about is the lowering of standards, especially for our society. You know, because we lived in such abundance and such comfortability and such entitlement, we don't realize how it affects our mental, on how and what we can achieve if we are just being a little bit more conscious with the systems that we've created for ourselves. Is it sustainable? And why can't we overcome this mental blockade? So, having your why and those time frames are so very important. I think the last thing I want to touch upon is the the competitive nature of diets. You don't have to keep up with the Joneses, okay? I know I'm talking about diet here, but I think diet goes hand in hand in a lot of impulsive behaviors that we take part in. It's habitual, it's routine, it's comfort. It's what keeps us motivated, it's what keeps us going, right? So we may go hard in some things and then light in others. Diet, I feel for most is especially hard to control because it's so available to us, and whatever is easy, it seems like we can't control ourselves to indulge in it. And so when food is always available, that's what we're going to find comfort in. Especially if we've had a hard day at work, or your kids are driving you crazy, or you're going through financial distress, or you just got over a breakup, or so many other multitudes of things that we try to find instant gratification for to stimulate our dopamine so that we don't think about what is actually happening in reality. I think that is one big reason why a lot of people stop dieting as well, is because you're always trying to keep up with the Joneses. A person who is at this level and you are your starting point, it's going to take you a lot of everything that I just talked about to get to here. And that's even if you just want to get to here. Not everybody wants to get to here, and that's okay. You can be here, or you can just start being conscious. Take it day by day. I love intermittent fasting. I barely did a 24-hour fast like 3 months ago after 5 years of fasting. And it was hard as hell. Okay, people do like 30-day fasts, and I'm like, how and why? You know? And that's for them to answer. Why they do it is for them. Why you do it is for you. So figure out what your purpose is and why. Put time frames on it, understand how sustainable it is going to be into your life, and tweak it. Constantly tweak it. It's a constant tweakment, guys. A decade, okay? I'm barely tapping the surface, and I'm barely getting into those disciplines. It takes time. Like anything worth having, it does. Time is a commodity and it is precious. So utilize it in a way that is going to structure you for success, or at least for a person that you'll look back at and say, I'm proud how she came or he came to be. So that was what was in my thought process in understanding my journey, and hopefully that was insightful to you and how you can approach your journey. But what fitness has been to me is a manifestation of discipline. And in that discipline, I have cultivated a resilience that I never had before. And I'm taking that not only in regards to this physical fitness route that I'm taking in life, but also into the spirituality portion of my life, the financial well being of my life, the educational part of my life. Nothing in life worth having comes easy. So please cultivate yourself and understand that it's going to be a process. But if you're living life like Click, that movie with Adam Sandler, and you're just fast forwarding or living on autopilot, what's the point? You're not living. Don't let your habits, don't let your demons overrun you because they're comfortable. Comfortability is the killer of dreams. I know I'm being and saying a whole bunch of cliche stuff right now, but it's so true. So I hope I said something good to you guys. And like I said, this is how this channel is gonna go. Okay, I'm gonna be going back and forth from spirituality to fitness to spirituality, and how they can, join together, and maybe some, in miscellaneous things in the background. But this is what I know. This is what I've done. So I want to share it with you all so that we become better human beings, that we thrive and not just survive, and then maybe even build and set up a better world for our children. This is Celestial. You have been tuning into Celestial Evolution. Thank you very much for taking the time today. I know this is a little bit of a long video, but I'm here for it. And I hope that if you have any questions that you put it down into the comment section, like and subscribe if you enjoyed what you heard today or if it gave you any type of motivation. And if there's anything that you're interested in, when you're on YouTube, and especially when it comes to like things like fashion or diet and hair, find people who look like you. You know, there's so many people on this platform. Don't find people who are completely opposite of you. I'm Black and Asian. If you are that or a part of any of those classifications and are a woman, and I'm 5'3", I don't know what else really counts here. I have curly hair. Anything that you need to know and ask questions about if you have those qualifications, please do. And in anything, I think we all can take a little bit from everybody, but it makes sense to follow people who you want to be like and who look like you too. Um, but thank you very much. And I don't know if I said this already to close it off, but you've been tuning into Celestial Evolution. Keep looking, learning, and evolving. As always, have a beautiful evening, and I hope to see you on the next one. Bye.